This is a vintage camera and it uses film. But unlike a digital camera, you first have to develop the film. That's why I'm going to show you today how to develop black and white film at home. I'm going to develop a roll of Kenton 400 black and white film today. And for that we need a few things. So first of all we need a developing tank. This is a fully light sealed tank where we can pour in and out chemicals to develop the film inside of it without exposing it to light. I use a Patterson tank, but you can also use a tank from Jobo or from any other manufacturer. To get our light sensitive film from the canister into the developing tank, we either need a completely dark room or, what I prefer, a changing bag. This is a light sealed bag with 2 holes for your hands, so you can work in the dark without actually being in the dark. This is also a great thing to have if your camera has a problem and you have to get the film out of it. We also need a bottle opener to get the film out of the cartridge. There's also a special opener for the cartridges or a film retriever which can pull out the film again without opening the cartridge. And we also need a pair of scissors to cut off the ends of our film inside the bag. I would recommend scissors that are made for children, because of the rounded tips you won't accidentally cut open your changing bag that easily. The next thing you need are some measuring cylinders. I have 2 650ml cylinders and a small 50ml one. You also need 2 glass bottles for a stop bath and fixer, because those 2 chemicals you can reuse a bunch of times. I mostly use Ilford chemistry because it worked well for me since I started. I also haven't ever tried any other chemistry. So for the developer I use Ilfosol 3, and just so you know, developer will lose its strength when it's opened and air gets inside the bottle. Fresh Ilfosol 3 I think is completely clear, then turns yellow and then orange and then red when it loses its strength. To prevent this I tried putting it in the fridge and I think it worked, but I'm not 100% certain. But if you're not planning to develop loads of black and white film every week, just buy smaller bottles or just shoot more film so that you have more to develop. The next chemical on our list is Ilfostop. This just stops the developing process. And for the fixer I use Ilford's Rapid Fixer. If you're doing darkroom printing you can also use the stop buff and fixer for your darkroom prints. And the last chemical is not from Ilford but from Kodak, and it's called PhotoFlow. I think it's like a soap and it's to prevent watermarks when your film dries. You also need an accurate thermometer, and if you don't have really clean tap water, you should probably use distilled water. Also make sure that you hang up your film to dry in a space where there is not much dust. First of all, please download the free film developing checklist I've created to help you keep track of what to do. The link is in the description below. Putting the film into the developing tank is probably the trickiest thing of the entire process, because everything has to happen in the dark. For that we use our changing bag and we put in the developing tank, the bottle opener, the scissors and of course our roll of film. Please make sure to put every part of the developing tank into the changing bag, because once you've opened the film cartridge, put the film into the tank and then realize that you forgot to put the lid of the tank into the changing bag, you have a problem. This happened to me once and I had to get into a dark room, which isn't that easy when you can't take your hands out of the bag. Fortunately my mom helped me and I could put everything together, but please don't make this mistake. Use the checklist I've created. I've listed every part of the developing tank on it to prevent me from doing this mistake again. I don't know how to do this with medium format because I've never shot medium format, but you can change the size of the film reel to medium format for developing. And if you want, you can also develop 2 rolls of 35mm film at the same time, but just make sure to use enough chemistry. Because all of this has to happen in the dark, I've simulated it here for you in daylight. So the first thing we need to do is open up the cartridge with the bottle opener and take out the film. Then we need to cut off the film leader and also cut the corners of the film a bit rounded. This helps with spooling up the film. Then take the reel of the Patterson tank and align the 2 knobs that mark the entrance. Now you can feed in the film and wind it up. Make sure to do smaller movements when turning, because otherwise I sometimes found that the film can get stuck. When you're at the end, you just need to cut off the little plastic spool and wind it up a bit more. Now put the film into the developing tank, close the lid and take everything out of the changing bag. Since I've already mixed up my stop bath and fixer, I'm only going to mix up some developer. For developing, your chemistry should be at 20 degrees Celsius. That's why I have a 5-liter canister that I fill up with water that's roughly 20 degrees. For the Ilford 3, I use a dilution of 1:9, which means 1 part developer and 9 parts water. Since I'm developing only one roll of 35 ml, I just need 300 milliliters of developer. If you're developing 2 rolls of 35mm or a roll of 120, you obviously need more chemistry. When you look at the bottom of your Patterson tank, you will see a little chart that tells you how much chemistry to use for which format. Now that we have everything mixed up, we just need to set our developing timer. For that, I use an app called David, but you can also use a dedicated analog darkroom timer. Here we need to put in our developing time, which for Kentner 400 is 6 minutes and 30 seconds when developed at 20 degrees Celsius. If your developer doesn't have a temperature of 20 degrees, you need to compensate for that. There is a temperature compensation chart from Ilford, and they also have a chart for developing times when you use their films and developers. There are also dedicated websites for film developing time charts. I've put the link of a few in the description down below. Now let's get back to setting the timer. Make sure that agitation is set to every 60 seconds. The stop bath we set to 30 seconds and the time for the fixer we set to 3 minutes. Before we start, let's rinse our film with water. Pour in a bit of water and then agitate like I do it here. Just tilt and turn the developing tank at the same time. Do this a few times and pour the water out again. So now if you're ready, you can hit the start button on the app and immediately pour in the developer. Close the lid and do 4 agitations. You can also use this little plastic piece that comes with the tank to turn the reel inside of it in the first few seconds of developing. I just close the lid as fast as I can and then agitate. Also tap the tank on the table after you're done agitating to make sure that all the bubbles rise to the top. Now we just need to wait and do another 4 agitations every beginning of the next minute. At the end of the developing time, pour out the developer, but make sure to start pouring a few seconds before the timer ends. Then immediately pour in the stop bath and agitate for 30 seconds. Now after that, pour in the fixer and agitate every 60 seconds like we did with the developer. So now we just have to rinse our film to get off every bit of chemistry, and then we can take a look at our pictures for the first time. To rinse your film, you can just put the developing tank in the sink and let water run in it for a few minutes. Or you can do what I do, and that is to fill up the tank with water, agitate it 5 times, and then pour the water out again. Now do this again with 10 agitations and then again with 20. After that, fill it up one last time and put a few drops of photo flow in it. At this point you can actually open up the tank and move the reel around in the photo flow. Hopefully everything worked out well and you also get as excited as I did when I developed my first roll. The last step is to hang up your film to dry, preferably in a near dust-free place. For that I just use some normal clips that you use for clothes. There are also special clips made for film. Then to get most of the water off of the film, use a dedicated film squeegee or just use your fingers. But please don't use a paper towel like I did here, because this can get dust onto your film that you can't easily get off when it's dried. Now we are done. We just need to clean up the mess we've made. I just rinse everything with water and dry it off with some paper towels. I don't use soap or anything similar, because I don't want to contaminate any chemicals that I pour in it in the future. And please do not pour used developer or any other chemical down the drain. Dispose your used chemistry properly. This is actually the end of this video. If you want to know what to do with your film next, then please subscribe to get notified when my video about film scanning comes out. And if this video helped you, please press the like button, and if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. That's it for me, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!